No traction control, driving line assistance off, braking indicator off, braking area off, ABS off. That is what the challenge is after all. Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to That Tom Bloke Racing. We are now at episode 3, so by the time you're watching this it should be the end of February, which means it's time to check in with how we did with both January and the February challenges. So let's see how we got on. We kicked things off with Gran Turismo 7, and first up was complete all driving school tests with silver and gold medals. As you will have seen if you've watched the last episode, we've done that. We revised slightly just to do the normal licenses, but we've got silver and gold on there now, so we can check that one off. Next up was to learn 3 tracks, one from each region with no driving assists on. If you're wondering about some of the assists, in particular the ABS setting, you might want to watch that section of the video. I think this will help quite a lot. For the tracks, I wanted to keep things interesting and random, so I headed over to a site called GT+, which I highly recommend for anything to do with Gran Turismo. But one of the cool features on there is a thing called Race Roulette. You hit the button and it randomly suggests a track, a race and a car for you to take on. I use that just to select 3 different tracks, making sure we got a random one from each region, and I'll show you how I did that now quickly. So this is the GT Plus website. As I said, it's a huge database of everything in the game, which includes the tracks. The thing I tend to use it most for is this Race Roulette button up at the top. Quite often if I can't decide what to do, I don't really want to get into trying to gold another license, I'll just hit this roulette button and go and have a free race almost. So I'm using it now to decide on the 3 tracks for our January challenge. As you can see, the first time I spun the wheel it gave me the high speed ring in Japan. I just thought that was going to be too easy and boring, so I spun it again and it gave me Interlagos, the Brazil F1 circuit. I'm fine with that. The next time it went straight to Alsace village, another tricky one with a lot of cornering and brake zones. I know Brazil well, I don't know Alsace that well, so a good mix there. Then it gave me Austria, but that's a bit boring as well, so I went again and I got the Tsukuba circuit in Japan. A bit of a short track admittedly, but some tricky corners, and I figured it was different enough from the first 2 to add it to the list. So that's it, that's our 3 challenge tracks for January. Let's go for it. So that's it. We're working with Interlagos in Brazil, which I'm pretty familiar with, Alsace village in Europe, which I'm not, and the Tsukuba circuit in Japan. I have raced Alsace and Tsukuba before, but they were to do with the endurance missions, so slightly weird conditions for both of those. So I'm a bit unfamiliar for normal racing on that. But I think this is a good solid mix, varied tracks to get into. And for each one, my plan was quite simple. I was just going to do the circuit experiences, learn the braking points, the apexes, get a feel for the layout and what I like to call the flow of a track. Then I'll strip away all the assists and just do some laps, see how we got on. So let's do that. Let's go to Brazil, see how we got on. Okay, so Brazil, the Interlagos circuit has 4 sectors. To be honest, I didn't find this too difficult. You can see here I do have the assists on that I'm used to using, but primarily I'm very familiar with this circuit. I've been driving it for years. I think I'm quite strong at it. So you can see here, sector 1, I think I did this first time actually, this one, so straight out of the box. Sector 2, if I remember rightly, which we're just starting here now, only took 2 attempts. I do have that braking zone on, but you can see I'm probably not really sticking to it. I think I know the course a bit better. In this sector 2 is only really 1.5 corners, so we did that one quite quickly. Sector 3, a bit trickier, lots of hard braking, a couple of hairpins, but I don't think it took me more than 3 or 4 attempts. So this is that one now. This corner is an easy one to lose it at. But we keep close to the ghost, and I knew at this point we should do it. And then finally into the last section, last sector, sector 4. I do know I did this one. I was going to say I did this one first time, but actually on reflection I might have done second or third. So we take that first corner well too late, but actually we come out of it quite well. So I stuck with it. And then it's all about getting the exit of this corner dead on, which I did quite well. And then it's just flooring it to the finish, getting your gearings right, gear changes right. So actually, yeah, I did do this one first time now, I remember. And then all that's left is to go and do the final, the full lap, just to make sure gold is on everything. And I'll let you just watch the lap here, so if you need any help you can see my throttle use, gear change and so on. Got to be honest, I really liked this car. I like the sound of the car especially, particularly those gear changes, and actually that makes me, I think I've mentioned this in an earlier episode, one of the biggest changes for me in terms of improving my driving was wearing headphones when I drive, just because of the detail of the sounds you can hear. So if you're not doing that yet, just find out how to connect some up, go and buy a cheap pair, whatever. It's a real game changer, for want of a better phrase. So I recommend that. So get a good exit. We've got a really good exit off that last corner. 134.2 was the target to get. And like I say, this was only the second attempt at this. We did it with a bit to spare. So that's it. Brazil circuit experience done. Okay, so just want to look at a lap with the usual assists I have on. So just so we know what those are, manual transmission is I'm pretty much done with, I'm on now all the time. Traction control 2, ABS to default, driving line assistance on, braking area on, everything else off. So I just want to see what a lap time is on this, so that we can then compare it to when we've got no assists on at all. And if we're wildly different, then we'll look into it. But it's going to be interesting to see. So let's go. Let's have a look. Thing is, my favourite out of the visual assists is the little yellow apex markers. Particularly when you're coming out of a long corner like here. They're very good aiming points. Okay, now we floor it to the end, hopefully not going off on the bit I tend to go off on sometimes. It's just coming out here. Quite easy to run off there sometimes. $136.9, that's quite good, isn't it? So we're now going to take the R8 around. And I'm going to do what the instructions have told me to do and turn off all assists of any kind, I guess that means. And although it says learn 3 tracks, I don't know if we should set ourselves a little target. Let's make sure we got a nice sunny day at least. So I guess we just set some laps. Well, let's do all the settings first. Okay, so assist settings. So manual, so no traction control. ABS, I'm going to try a couple of laps with default on. Driving line assistance is going to have to come off. That's going to be interesting. Braking indicator off, braking area off. That doesn't really count. That's off already, that's off already. Let's try off. That is what the challenge is after all. So this is going to be an interesting one, but let's just get out there and do some racing, see what happens. I'm expecting to spin off a few times or lock my brakes. Ooh, where am I? Not even having corner markers is tricky. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I don't really have mentally saved braking points, so we're going to have to figure those out. On the Formula 1 game though, it's around about the 50-60 metre mark. So why don't we see what happens if we do that? Oh god, wow, locking up the wheels is... Okay, this is going to be really difficult. I'm going to drive around for a bit and I'll come back to you on commentary as and when I can. But yeah, how do you not lock up? Oh wow, okay. Okay, so you can not lock up if you drive nice and slowly, but obviously we're not going to set very good lap times if we do that. Okay. I don't know about the ABS, like I've seen some of the seriously good drivers still recommend they keep it on. So I guess if we have too much difficulty we'll have to turn it off, but let's have a go. So our first lap, albeit a disaster, is a 1:51. God, that's hard. Okay, so I've dumped forward quite a long way here. You can see that I'm coming up to the end of lap 18, in fact, more than half an hour in. My lap times aren't even close to what I was getting with the assists on, and at this point I'm 99% sure it's because of turning the ABS off completely. I found my braking points by this time and the racing line is easy enough, but it was nearly impossible not to lock up at every single corner unless you brake so softly and gently and so far ahead of time that actually you just lose too much time. So I decided to go off and do a bit of research. It looks like the ABS doesn't make a lot of difference. So Tijani did a great video, I'll put the link in the description, but he tested all of them and you can see from this conclusion that there's not enough difference of sort of drastically reducing the lap times unless maybe certain cars have a lot of understeer or oversteer. That was his conclusion. Really nice Scottish guy, Womble Leader Racing, sorry, he's done the best video I've seen. He even opens the video by saying he's not going to test with the ABS off. It's 100% definitely slower. And at the end, in every test he did, the weak setting was the slightly better lap time, as you can see here, by a couple of tenths, but his advice was to try both and see what you like. It's not different enough to sweat over. Rory Alexander has his on default when I paused the video he made, and Super GT looks like he has it on too, either as default or weak, and those guys are at the top. Just to labour the point a bit, there was one really interesting Reddit post where everyone said weak is the best balance between fast lap times and difficulty level, and one comment from a guy claiming to be an A+ driver said everybody he knows leaves it on default, including the pro drivers, and in fact he says turning ABS off has no benefit whatsoever. So I don't know, maybe I'm searching for what I want to hear, but as long as it's not as detrimental as say traction control or automatic transmission, I'm going to stick with ABS on weak. The bottom line is that we're trying to get into the top 10 and those top 10%, and those who are already there are using default or weak. So anyway, if you're not like me, this could be really boring. So let's put ABS on weak and move on. Okay, so I took a bit of a break after that session, tried again, and that helped massively. That's another top tip, by the way. The number of times I've managed to get a trophy or something first time after coming back from a break is ridiculous. Pretty much always works. Anyway, I did 10 reasonably consistent laps here, all in the 137s or 138s. To be honest, I don't think I could have done those any better now. So remember that the lap with the assists on was 1:36.4, so we're still miles off. So going into the Alsace challenge, I'm going to have a think about what it is that I use. Bit of a long-winded way to find something out, but if we're going to do this, we have to learn these things, and we know from now on. Okay, so this is Alsace, which is, to be honest, a course I'm not very familiar with at all. So I think we're sort of learning this one more or less from the beginning. I did quite well. We'll see here I got gold on Sector 1 just on the first attempt. It's quite a nice car, this, to be honest, I quite like it. That's always a tricky corner not to go wide on. And you just roll around this one until you see the marker. So we've got gold on there a little bit, sorry. Sector 2 I found a little tougher. This took me 7 or 8 goes, but we did get there. It's this turn that can make or break. You want to keep as much speed as possible. I tried to stick to the white markers in the middle and then come on the power quite early. We did that one almost by a tenth actually. Sector 3 is slow and twisty. This first corner, first time I ever saw this track, it took me so many attempts just to get round this corner. It's cambered so awkwardly. You just go sliding off into the barriers, and in this corner you can take a lot faster than you think actually, quite often without braking. And then you got the last chicane. I think the braking point on my left was where the curb starts, just before that arch. And then again, roll around here. Careful of that barrier on the right. And then again, we actually got gold on there almost by 2/10, which is quite nice. So it's just the full lap to go. Took me 4 or 5 attempts, I think. And it was one of those really frustrating situations. I kept clearing it by just a couple of 1,000ths of a second. And that's super frustrating, but also, you know you're getting close. You just got to stick at it. By this point I thought I wasn't going to make it. I'd lost a bit of time on that tricky corner. And then floor it over the finish line, and we get it by about a tenth. So that's it, circuit experience done at Alsace. On to the laps without assists. Okay, so we have just done the circuit. Okay, so we've just done the circuit. In hell. Okay, so we've just done the circuit experience at Alsace, which we did reasonably easily, I think. So now we're going to take it to the time trial, learn the track without the assists on. As I've just talked about, I think we're going to put ABS to weak, see how that works. We're going to use our usual R8. Let's go into assisting. So traction, I'm going to keep on 1. ABS we're going to put on weak. We're going to keep these off because that's what the rules say. This is actually going to be very difficult. But let's just go for a drive. So just for reference, the circuit experience best lap I did was a 1 minute 53.812. I reckon if we can get anywhere close to that, let's say again on 5 consecutive laps, then I consider that learnt. So let's just see how we get on anyway. Okay, so actually I'm not going to make you sit through this session, but I drove around for a bit fairly quickly, got my brake zones to be honest, but I still didn't feel very confident coming out of the corners, which is basically a polite way of saying I really messed up a lot here. So if you remember from the Brazil video, I talked about how I think the corner markers are one of the most useful assists, for me at least. So I decided to stick them back on, and this is what happened then. Okay, so we're back. We've taken a bit of a break, by which I mean all day, because I had to go to work. But I think that's good. I have just recorded myself doing a whole session where I just was not getting it at all. I was spinning out, I was, to be honest, getting pretty frustrated with it all. So we're back in now. Like I said, we're going to try and get these 5 consecutive sub 1 minute 54 laps. You might have noticed here I have put one of the assists back on. So when you go into driving line, you've got an option of driving line or corner markers. I've put the corner markers back on. It's only because personally I find that the most useful assist of the lot, especially on tracks you don't know. So I just want to try it for a bit. I don't feel like I'm unfairly, cheating's not the word, but you know, unfairly helping myself. There's 2 kinds of aids really. There's there's visual aids, and then there's, I was going to say mechanical aids, but probably electronic aids for the car. So I'm not doing any of that. This is just purely for visual things. So I'm not affecting performance or difficulty of the car or anything. So I'm going to try it for a bit. Like I say, when you come out of corners, for me, that's the point A, the apex. I don't really use the the marker going into the corner very much. This is a terrible lap, by the way. I'm just talking. Yeah, I don't use the marker going into the lap very much. Sometimes I use it for the apex, but for me, it's about the bit going out. So, like here, for example, as soon as you see it, you aim for it. And to me, I find that helps a lot. So I'm just going to try those on for a bit. Like I say, not affecting how difficult it is, just trying to help myself a bit because I was getting really angry for a minute. You're lucky you didn't hear the video of the last section. There was a lot of beeping probably. Anyway, so let's get cracking from this lap now. 5 consecutive 134 or under laps. Or under 130. 5 consecutive 154 laps. Oh, we've done it. Wasn't even paying attention. 5 laps in a row. That last lap was my fastest. I mean, that corner marker, I mean, I call it an assist, but is that an assist? I don't know. If you completely disagree with me, put your case forward in the comments. But again, like I say, on a course I didn't really know very well until I started this. Feels sort of fair. Either way, it's just done this for me. I would have probably thrown my PlayStation out the window if I hadn't done that. Not really, I'm not like that. But yeah, for me, I'm going to leave that on. It's a bit of a help, big help. So yeah, we've done that. So can't remember what's next. Oh yes, Japan, Tsukuba. So we will go and take a look at that. Just going to finish this lap. Call it a victory lap. Fun course, but tricky. Yeah, hi, it's voiceover Tom here. This victory lap did not go to plan, so let's quickly ignore that and move on to the next thing. Okay, so we're at Tsukuba now. I'll whiz through this. This is the circuit experience. To be honest, this was quite easy. I think I did this sector 1 in just 3 attempts. Sector 2 took me 2 attempts, and then sector 3, which to be honest is just 1 corner, I did first time. So I'll whiz through this. I know you've seen all this now, you know the gist. Sector 1 ticked off, easy. Always got to be really patient coming out of that corner because it's more than just a hairpin, and it curves around more than 180 degrees. What we got there? And then, like I say, sector 3 is simply just that last corner. Then the full lap took me a lot more attempts actually. It took me 7 or 8 goes on this. You can probably see on that screen I decided to try it with the traction control at 2. Actually made a decent enough difference. And the first time we did it with that, I hate that corner. First time we did it with traction control 2, we completed it. So yeah, this whole circuit experience took 20 minutes. Okay, I don't know if we've got him, but I increased the traction control by 1. I feel like maybe. A bit better. Come on. Yes! That was it. Put the traction control on 2 and did that first time from there. Okay, so it's on to the January goal now, which was a 5-lap race against AI on easy difficulty with clean laps. Just selected the track through the race roulette on GT Plus. That is selected Lake Maggiore, the the centre circuit. So pretty basic circuit, that one. So we just need to set up a custom race here, which I've never actually done before here. So we want 5 laps here. Everything else looks good. Yep. I just want to change the difficulty level to beginner. That should be it. So I did just whiz around a couple of laps earlier just to get some braking points. To be honest, this is quite an easy, well, it's a very short course and there's only really 2 braking points. So yeah, let's see how we got on. So we start in 10th, 5 laps to go. Perhaps there was a setting that meant I could select if we started somewhere else other than 10th. And I'll look at that for the next one maybe. Ooh, where's he going? So yeah, like I said, there's only really 2 braking zones. This corner was a bit tricky, but apart from that, it's quite a short lap. And I think this should be a relatively easy target. This is one zone where you brake at the 100-meter board for this complete hairpin. Would have come out a bit wider if the Supra wasn't there, but that's 1 lap down and we made up 6 places. so should be a straightforward win as long as nothing too stupid happens. Oh, another one. They don't like that corner, the AI, do they? Oh, come on, man. I can't remember if I've said it before, but seriously, the AI in this game is just the worst. I think I've played 3 racing games, mobile racing games with better AI. And if you're after one of those, I can wholly recommend one called Real Racing 3. It's huge, you can play for ages for free without having to buy rubbish, and the AI is better, and it's got most of the same tracks and cars as this. But anyway, let's concentrate. Okay, so to be honest, I'm going to skip through to the end. This whole race was an absolute cakewalk. It's an easy circuit, opponents on beginner level, really not much to show here. So I won't bore you with it. I'll run to the end, but it's nice that our January goal after all the learning parts was so easy. So yeah, this is well, let's get to the end now. This hairpin might be a bit far back. Yeah, I think so. You don't want to nudge him because of the AI here. Okay, job done. Wasn't pretty, wasn't particularly exciting, wasn't very difficult, but it's done. So that's the January goal ticked off, which now means we have finished January's targets, which is really good. So good news. Quick spin of the wheel of destiny here on the race roulette. Okay, so that's it. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Not that easy for people like me to say. Can't pronounce my R's properly. Let's set this up quickly. So 10 laps, tyre wear rate and fuel consumption rate. I just had a quick look at some of the other 10 lap races in this game. They're roughly sort of 8, 9, 10 times rate. I'm just going to put this refueling speed up because it does my head in. Intermediate, right. This is going to be difficult, I think. Partly because I'm not that great at the circuit. I did just run a few laps a minute ago just to check. Just sort of learn a couple of braking points quickly. We've got everything we want on here, or rather not. Let's do it. I think this is going to be very difficult, to say the least. But I'm sure we've done harder challenges in the sort of game mode anyway. Oh yes, we do have to factor in AI here, don't we? A little bit cautious there. Oops. I feel like these, well, I can say I feel like these cars are a lot faster than me, but is that me or is it just how they've got it set? It's a bit unfair. Okay, so after lap 1 we've lost 2 positions. That was my bad, could have gone around the outside. So yeah, that first lap was a bit of a mix, to be honest. It's not like they took off into the distance, but it was clearly a bit harder than before. So I decided just to get my head down and crack on. When I don't know any better going into a race, I'll usually do my pit stop halfway. So that's what I did here. did this quite nice double overtake here to move into P6. Some of the cars started pitting on lap 4 though, which I thought was odd. When I pitted, first place was about 14 seconds up the road, and when I came out he was 23 seconds ahead. So at that point I thought this was going to be an extremely difficult race to win. But then the leader pitted again on lap 6, putting me only a few seconds off the lead and catching. I got into second on the very next lap, just here. I was finding this was a really good corner for overtaking on.
And it looks like he's pitting.
Then on the very next lap, the lead car pitted. So at this point I knew it was just a case of driving to the end. And so this ended up actually being quite an easy win. We ended up winning by over a second. I don't know how much of that was down to strategy decisions of the AI cars or if it was down to me. If it's strategy, I'm a bit disappointed, but I'll take the win for this series and we can chalk it off. But I will go and do some races on intermediate level, I think, just to get a bit more used to it, and probably, to be honest, leave that setting on intermediate from now on.
So yeah, we're coming up to the end of the final lap in this race. I seem to have a pretty solid chance of winning this now. One chicane left to go with a lead. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. My strategy wasn't any different from anybody else's. Seem to have won it reasonably clearly. I'm a bit surprised about that, but obviously pretty happy. That means we can win an intermediate race, which I'm buzzing about, to be honest. It also means that is now up to date. January and February goals all done. Really cool news. Okay, so that is it. As I said there, we've caught up now and completed all of January and February challenges. At the time of recording, this is the 28th of February, so we did it with just a few hours to spare, except for one glaring omission. I haven't been doing the F1 game at all, which I said I would in episode 1. I might have bitten off more than I can chew trying to do both, but I think from this point on it's going to get easier, so we might have a bit more time. And don't forget, we did try and do January and February starting in the last week of January. Some of them were tricky and time consuming. Then I was away for a few weekends, so I'll definitely be still doing the F1 23. Hopefully I can catch up. I think maybe I'll do a whole episode just catching up on the F1 game over the next couple of weeks. I don't know if anyone else is joining in, but if so, I will keep putting the challenges up on the screens anyway, so maybe you can get ahead of me. I'll quickly whiz through March's targets now. It's starting to get exciting. We're finally getting online, which we all want to do. So for Gran Turismo 7, it's participate in your first daily online race, finish in the top 50%. Like I say, I've been itching to do the online races. That's where we really start to get true comparisons of where we stand compared to other people. I wanted to go in and do some messing around and some practicing, but I've also wanted to keep the rating whatever it starts at, so that if you're following along, we start from the same place. But yeah, I think, like I say, this is where we find out if we're any good or not. So I'm excited, but there are some nerves in there as well, but that's fun. Then we've got tune your car and set competitive lap times on 3 circuits. I'll hold my hands up here. I'm really bad at understanding the tuning to any deep degree. I can buy parts, I can change some of the basics, you know, this sort of downforce and transmission and so forth. But this whole section here loses me a bit there. I don't know about you, but no matter how much I read the descriptions here, it doesn't seem to sink in. So 9 times out of 10, I'll go online and look something up. Nearly always find something on Reddit. So although we've technically done this challenge before, maybe I'll quickly find 3 new tracks and give it a go. I'll do what I do every time and go to the GT Plus website, the race roulette. Then we've got March's goals. Set a lap time within 10% of the world record on a selected track. That's literally the end goal of this whole project, so I'm assuming this is going to be very difficult. Maybe to lighten the load a bit, I'll choose a track that I'm reasonably familiar with. Not a favourite, but you know what I mean. I don't know yet. I'll see what I decide on there. So maybe that's this week's cliffhanger, this episode's cliffhanger actually, to make you subscribe. For the F1 game, the challenge is to complete your first online race without penalties. Again, I think that's going to be a huge test. I'm not even sure how to set up an online or how to enter an online race, but I'll find out. If you know, leave me a comment, let me know, save me a bit of time, that would be nice. And the March goal, finish in the top 50% in a 25% online race. Again, that's not going to be easy, but that is why we do this. But anyway, that's it. Thank you so much again for watching. That really means a lot, especially if you've subscribed. I know this has probably been a long episode, but it's going to get interesting now. We've got some of the sort of boring bits out of the way. If you're joining in, let me know how you've been getting on. You might have gone shot ahead of me. Please now, I will maybe start asking to subscribe. It'd be really cool if you do. Not the end of the world if you don't. But yeah, I really hope you're enjoying this, and I will see you next time. Thanks.